We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this star-studded episode of the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Kevin, and I can assure you that today's show will be far more enjoyable than being stuck in a hotel room with Rudy Giuliani. In today's episode, we discuss the idea that while we still can't quite visit Disney parks in person, there may be an alternative coming right to your living room. We look into warnings that the air around you might be getting very, very bent. And we revel in our excitement for yet another DC reboot. Woo-hoo! But first, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a weekly show covering the world of film, television, gaming, toys, and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me on the show, as always, we have the editor-in-chief of All Things Geek, J-Law. And of course, he's sweet, he's sour, he could talk about whatcha for an hour. It's Nate. You set the bar so high on our watch club that I really had to sit down and think about those for a while. So,
yeah.
Kudos for setting the bar so high.
There you go. But honestly, if you want to have rhyming to your thing or whatever that was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
How are we doing, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm been a busy week, just like with work and stuff. I don't know, man. I worked 6 days in a row, which is not a normal thing for me. So it was I was pretty exhausted by the end of it, but yeah, not too bad.
I think there's a lot of that going around. J-Law, you've been busy these days?
Oh yeah, man. Just between work and other stuff, it's been crazy. So I feel like the time that I get to do these things, and it's just like it is like a moment of relaxation, even though it all requires work at the end of the day. But it's fun to do these things. So still an investment and passion, if you will.
Sorry, some work's a little bit more enjoyable than others, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, now, even though you've been busy, have you had a chance to sit down, a little time to yourself, relax, maybe watch something, play a game? What you been up to?
This week, amongst working, I actually found myself enjoying Disney Plus's new content. I don't know if you guys were aware, but they launched Star, which is their mature catalog of stuff. And I think somehow Simpsons is now moved over there. I guess it just makes more sense. But like you find Simpsons in the Star section now. I don't know.
I'm finding that it's not so much like the adult section. It's kind of anything that isn't like specifically on Disney brand, you know? Any shows or movies that they weren't responsible for or doesn't sort of fit under that direct umbrella. They've got this alternative option.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was actually going to say, is that it actually doesn't really feel like a mature content. It's just everything that they acquired through all of these acquisitions that's just not, to your point, on Disney brand. But yeah, I found that, and this week I did it again, guys. I watched some Nancy Meyers. I watched the back-to-back Father of the Bride 1 and 2. I did that, and I've now journeyed down a vicious rabbit hole that is 24. They have the entire series on Star, so I'm already into season 2. I loved the show when I was in like high school, and it was like one of my favorite shows. It's crazy to be going through this experience again, and still being surprised by things and trying to remember other things after not seeing the show for so many years. But yeah, it was like a ritual of mine. Every year I got that on DVD, and I would just plow through it. It was so addicting. So yeah, I'm back. I'm down that rabbit hole. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get through all of these seasons, and it's gonna be disastrous for me.
Well, it's only 5 or 6 days worth of adventure. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll stretch it out into like 5 or 6 weeks. I'll try it. I don't know. I'm already into season 2, and season 1 was pretty easy to crush. It was a good season. So
awesome. All right, Nate, how about yourself? Again, you're busy with work, but obviously we're all going to find some time to ourselves. What you been up to lately?
Yeah. I mean, not a ton of watching. There's one thing that I watched that I will want to talk about, but just before I do, I've been playing a lot of a game on Switch called Olija. It's done by Devolver Digital. It's a side-scrolling 8-bit adventure game about a man named Faraday who is on a quest after being shipwrecked and trapped on the mysterious country, or in the mysterious country of Terraphage. Which sounds like a bunch of words, but ultimately it's a side-scrolling action platforming game, and it's really cool. There's this mechanic where you get a harpoon, this legendary harpoon, and you can throw it and then call it back to you, kind of like Kratos in God of War with the axe. And it's really neat. Like, you can use it for traversal in the game. You can throw it; it gets stuck in something, and then it pulls you towards it. So it's a really fun little game. It's kind of short. I'm already 1/3 of the way through it, but I definitely recommend it. I don't think it should be slept on at all, because if you want something sort of short and sweet, that's kind of the way to go.
Kind of like you, short and sweet.
That's it. Also, I got a chance today, actually, before we started recording. We're going to talk into our topic of the show a little bit later on about probably more of this, but I had a chance to watch Minari, which is the A24 produced film done by Lee Isaac Chung and Stephen Yoon. And oh my gosh, have you guys seen it yet?
No, I mean, that's one of the movies that I will 100% be watching ASAP. So it's on the list.
I feel like I know Justin's review already, but I'm really interested to see what Kevin would think of the film. But I don't know. I thought it was really, really well done. It's an incredibly powerful look at what it's like to be an immigrant family coming to America in the 80s. And, in the film, this family sort of, they discover like this resilience that a family needs to really make it in the 80s, to make the American dream in the 80s, at least in Arkansas. And the performances by Stephen Yoon and Han Yi-ri are excellent. But the standout performances in this movie come from the oldest and youngest actors in the movie, with Yoon Yo-jung and Alan S. Kim, who play the grandma and grandson in the film. Yoon Yo-jung gives such a warm and unexpected performance in the film, and of course, I cried so hard, because you know what? In its third act, it does such a really good job at making you feel the feelings that the family is going through, but it's never like, it's still a feel-good film. Like, it never gets overtly depressing or dark. You know how sometimes those movies, especially like, I'm sure, Kevin, your thoughts of A24 movies, where it's just like, this looks slow and depressing and what have you. Like,
I'm going to have a miserable time at this movie. Yeah.
No, yeah, but I don't think you're going to have it with this one.
Right. Right. No, it sounds a lot more uplifting.
Yeah, and it's lovely, and it's beautiful, and it's very simple. That's the only thing that I've seen some people sort of say works for it and against it at the same time, is just how simple the story is, and how sort of it's just it's not going to overwhelm you with too much.
I don't understand how anyone could say something works against something for being simple. I think it's brilliant if it's the more simplistic it is and the more powerful it is, because to your point, that's the beauty of this movie, is that it's so simple that it focuses really on the relationships, the cultural boundaries. It's focusing on that's the focus. That's the highlight of the movies, not necessarily the spectacle of the movie, right? It's the idea of the story. So it's crazy that people would actually have anything negative to say about the simplicity of it being like a bad thing to it.
I think what they're just referring to, though, is that just like, I don't know, I think people expect a lot to happen in a 2-hour film. They expect a ton of storyline, and this just is really like, it takes place over like the course of like, I don't know, maybe a month at the most, maybe not, maybe like a few weeks. It's really it's but again, fantastic movie. Please don't sleep on Minari.
Okay, stop
Please
talking
watch
about
Minari.
it. Stop talking
you can
about
rent
it.
I'm not going to spoil it.
Stop talking about it. Yeah. Jeez, you've already spoiled it enough. Jeez.
Are you kidding
I'm
me?
gonna walk into it now. I'm already gonna
really
know.
quickly. Then
I'm gonna say, oh, his performance was great, and all this and all that.
I don't think that's a spoiler. Didn't we talk about this?
Well, before you spoil too much, on a scale of 1 to 5 tiers, how good was it?
4 out of 5 tiers.
There we go. 4 out of 5 tiers.
4 out of 5 tiers for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Can't believe it didn't get a full 5 tiers. What's a full 5 tiers is what I want to know.
Oh my gosh!
Don't tell me Moulin Rouge. Oh God.
I'm not going to admit that Monsters Inc. has made me cry in the past. All right.
Kev, what you been up to, bro? I'm sure you've been busy.
Yeah. I mean, with work and everything, and then putting together a video for the YouTube channel that by the time this is posted will be up there. So go check it out, especially if you're a fan of WandaVision. But yeah, actually found a bit of time, stayed up way too late, too many nights, watching a whole bunch of stuff. I've continued to do my due diligence, and I'm sticking to it. I watched another episode of Snowpiercer.
We thank
and
you.
honestly, it is
We
what
thank
it
you.
is. The show just takes itself too seriously. It's killing me. It just thinks it's so much better than it actually is. And I wish it just had a bit more fun with itself. And I think
So
it would
it's
benefit from
it doesn't seem to be Cobra Kaiing itself, right?
Yeah, just embracing what it is and rolling with it.
Yeah.
But I know you had mentioned it in a past conversation we had a week or two ago on one of the podcasts, but that you wanted to check out Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Hotel Cecil.
Yes, that was last week.
Yes, so
did you start
so
watching
Sarah and I jumped in and we did another crime docuseries. I don't know what it is with her and her murder shows, but it seems to be a common trait with people these days. But it was very ho-hum. They sort of focused on the element of how people on the internet influence the case, and I think they just gave them too much of a spotlight. They sort of were the topic of the documentary instead of what is actually a very interesting case of somebody dying, and then in a building that has a history of very interesting, just deaths and different sorts of crimes and stuff. The hotel itself is the character, and I just wish they had focused a bit more on that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to go watch a crime series on Netflix these days, watch Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer about Richard Ramirez. It's the best one we've seen in years. So I definitely recommend that. We watched that a few weeks ago.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I think my big one was Sarah and I finally just went like, why don't we give this For All Mankind a shot? And so that took us 3 nights.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
We loved it. Yeah, we were hooked.
Really?
I had a blast.
Wow.
I just think I love alternative histories, and so I just thought it was such a fun spin on, and a look at just what was going on in the world in the 60s and 70s, and how they were influenced by the actions on the show. I just thought that was a really cool premise. So
season 2 looks very interesting too, in terms of.
I don't generally look
2?
ahead, but I mean, I didn't realize that season 2 came out like last week. So what a perfect time to get on board,
Yeah, no, I've really been looking forward to that as well. Like I know that I've had so many people recommend that I watch it, and it I've just sort of stayed away from it, but because I've heard that it kind of slows down a little bit too much. Did you find that to be the case?
I think there's 2 very different elements sort of working together on the show, and I just think that the human drama doesn't slow. It's nicely balanced with the more action adventure side. But even in that portion, I don't want to say too much about it, but in the sort of space side of things, there's still a very human element to it. And that's not to say that the human Earth drama side of it doesn't have its own sort of turmoil and sort of action going on itself. So
I agree with you though, Kev. I enjoy the alt history aspect of the show. That's why I was really drawn into it. Like, the way things play out aren't exactly or in any way how they played out during that time. So it's just it's interesting to see that perspective in a big what if you will. If it was all different.
Absolutely.
So.
It's it's like a teaser for Marvel's show coming up. I am definitely excited to jump into season 2 though. I really dug that first season. Can't wait to see where they're going to go next because they've already done so much in the first season. But before we jump on to the news of the show, I did want to say that I always have a show that I sort of throw in the background while I'm working during the day. I just like noise as a distraction. And usually I put on a show I've binge watched 2 or 3 times before. But after watching the first 5 episodes of this show, I decided I could throw it on in the background and probably wouldn't miss much. And that would be Superstore. I was not blown away by that one.
Okay, but hang on a second, Kevin, because you speak the truth more than ever about how The Office is. You have to get past that first season.
I'm on
you
season
talk about
5
it all the time. You're on season 5 of Superstore?
Yeah.
I thought you said 5 episodes. Sorry, 5 seasons.
No.
Okay, never mind.
I
You don't like it. It's
realized
fine.
after 5 episodes that it wasn't going to do it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm already on season 5 because I can get through a season a day if on an 8-hour
For
day.
sure.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not up to the standards of sitcom.
I never said it was.
No,
I'm
not saying you did, but I had it recommended from several people who made it out to be the next Office or the next this.
Oh, no. You can be hard on him. You totally were making it seem like it was like a godsend to sitcom television.
Absolutely
All
not.
right, thank you for jumping in, Justin. Thank you. I thought so. I thought so. I just didn't want to be that guy again.
Okay, let's move on before Nate spoils any more of Minari.
Well, I guess while that show isn't shocking or very intriguing, a lot of stories came out over the last week that I'd love to talk about. So why don't we jump right into the news?
It's all about the details.
In our first story, Disney is teaming up with Battlestar Galactica's Ronald D. Moore to develop a Magic Kingdom TV universe. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Moore has been enlisted to build out the Magic Kingdom TV universe, starting with The Society of Explorers and Adventurers, which Moore will write and executive produce for Disney Plus and 20th Television. The series will reportedly take place in a world where all the themed lands and characters of the Disney parks and classic films actually exist in another reality. Moore is said to be working in close collaboration with the Disney Imagineering team, the group that is responsible for creating and designing thousands of rides, attractions, and resorts across Disney theme parks. They will work together to push the first project out of the turnstiles and onto Disney Plus, which could end up playing host to the potential franchise if the first show proves to be a success. Guys, we're obviously big fans of all things Disney, including the parks themselves. So what are our initial thoughts about this announcement?
It kind of sounds like a night at the museum. Maybe, right? Like, I don't know. It depends, though. I think that they're probably obviously going to bring more life and a little less, theatricality to the idea that these parks and things are coming to life. But just the concept of it kind of sounds like, a night at the museum, if you will, an evening at the Magic Kingdom, if you will, So I'm interested. I'm stoked to see how they're able to translate and bring some of the whimsy of the park to life in an interesting way.
Yeah, in my mind, though, I don't know, Justin, I didn't really get that it's like the park closes and then, this alternate world comes to life. Like, I kind of got more the idea of, like, kind of what ABC has already tried to do with Once Upon a Time, which I did not. I was such right?
So that was like fairy tales, right? And that was like a Sunday night soap opera. I don't think they're going to go for that vibe with this, or at least I hope they don't. Like, I'm actually devastated because, when you do like a garage pitch and you come up with an idea and you joke around with some friends about it. And a few years ago, I wanted, so you've got a castle in the middle of this mysterious land and the princess goes missing. And, a peasant from the outside of the castle in one of the nearby villages goes to try and find the princess, goes on an adventure through all these different lands, a frontier land, a more jungle-themed adventure land, and would have to sort of get through the obstacles of the rides as he was on this adventure looking for this princess. There was a haunted house somewhere, and then all of a sudden the Jungle Cruise movie got announced with The Rock, and I was like, wow, they're starting to do that one. They're going to just do each ride, so I'll scrap that idea. But this sounds very much like that, so as upset as I am that I didn't do the idea myself, I'm kind of excited.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna take the the Star Wars approach or the MCU approach of like this continuity between that movie with Dwayne the Rock Johnson, right? Like I could still totally see an awesome moment where, you know, he has to, the main character has to get on a boat, and then there's just this quirky driver of the boat like taking him through the jungle. Like I think they could totally still rock that and keep it fresh and exciting without having to necessarily bring in all those films. Or maybe you do crossover. Maybe you do get Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Well,
and
I doubt that.
Well, it's interesting too because right in the headline, it's Battlestar Galactica Ron Moore to develop Magic Kingdom TV universe. So this implies that this isn't just a show. This could be, you know, multiple shows that will kind of, you know, to the point of what we're discussing here, kind of encompass all of the sort of quirkiness and the, you know, whimsicalness of the Magic Kingdom in this sort of representation of this series. So it'll be interesting to see how it translates. It's definitely an interesting concept to try to take like thematic elements from the park and the ride and materialize them into a story. Like I think that's what's so interesting about Jungle Cruise, right? It's you know, like what's that film going to look like? So, you know, it'll be interesting to see.
The whole fact of it being what you said, Magic Kingdom TV universe, like clearly they're doing this better than like what, for instance, like the Mortal Kombat movie is doing, where they're throwing it all into one movie. This is great because this will allow you to really build up each land, each storyline, and then have it culminate in this giant
tournament,
you know,
where they
Disney World. No, it's imagine the movie or the series is called Disney World, or I don't know, something like that. I don't know. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's all about the slow burn for Nate.
Yes, 100%. That's the whole point of TV.
Everything has to be 5 movies or 5.
The whole point of TV is to stretch it out. That's great.
Yeah, but my thing is that if they, again, if it's TV, to your point, Nate, how far can they really stretch it, right? Like I also believe, and I think I've said this before, they have the idea of how many seasons they want to do to tell their story. So that will be the interesting piece here. It's like, is he developing something for a 5-season run that will, you know, help fill out this universe, and then after that, he's gonna throw to the wind, and whoever wants to come in and step in next to kind of take on other aspects of it, who knows, right? Like, is he laying the groundwork for what will be inevitably the much larger universe of the Magic Kingdom series, right? So,
well, and in addition to, I mean, we don't know what the show's going to be yet, but it is kind of nice to see, you know, even though it's technically based on existing Disney material, it's kind of almost like the first Disney Plus project that's its own thing, like either its own original story or not Star Wars or Marvel. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of, so it's nice to see something a little bit different, you know?
Right. Fair point.
But from a show based on a new concept to a show based on an older concept coming back for more. According to Luke Riley at IGN, Nickelodeon has announced the launch of a new division dedicated to creating new series and movies based in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. The division will be called Avatar Studios and will be led by original creators and executive producers Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. Avatar Studios will debut on Paramount Plus, Nickelodeon platforms, and unspecified third-party platforms, as well as in cinemas. The first project for Avatar Studios is set to be an animated theatrical film. No further details were revealed, but the project is scheduled to begin production this year. In a joint statement released alongside the announcement, Konietzko and DiMartino said, "It's hard to believe it's been 19 years since we created Avatar: The Last Airbender, but even after all that time, there are still many stories and time periods in Aang's world that we are eager to bring to life. We're fortunate to have an ever-growing community of passionate fans that enjoy exploring the Avatar-verse as much as we do." So, as someone who hasn't seen any of the original animated series, I was almost hoping the project would kind of be a reboot to help introduce new audiences such as myself into the world, without having to watch the previous 126 episodes of the show. But Nate, I know you're a fan of the existing content, so I'm going to start with you on this one. What are your thoughts?
You know, after the Netflix, the original creators leaving the Netflix series, that was pretty disappointing. It was kind of a hard blow after already kind of, really, really hoping for an Avatar movie and then having that M. Night Shyamalan debacle that was released, which I'm not going to, that could open up a whole other can of worms. So I'm not going to get into that. But no, this series is my favorite animated series of all time, specifically Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Legend of Korra, which is the spin-off series, is absolutely fantastic as well as far as animated series go, but it can't live up to the original. So it makes me really happy to hear that quote at the end that you read there, where it sounds like they are going to be focusing maybe a little bit more on Aang. Kevin, I'll tell you, honestly, it's an easy watch for this show. It's 20-minute episodes. You can get through. It's only 3 seasons, and it's kind of nice because it fits perfectly in 3 seasons, to the point where, yes, I do want to see more now that it's been so long. But while I was watching it, when it was the only content available, it did feel like, okay, this is a good, at least, stopping point for the moment before Korra came into the picture. But no, honestly, if this is more stories, because they have so much content to build out from. They've got a lot of comic books, a lot of different things like that. But I mean, Kevin, if you like, a fantasy series that is going to build the world by showing you more of the world rather than telling you about it, this is a great series. And it starts off feeling like a very kid show, but it grows up with its audience in a short time span of 3 seasons. And I promise you're gonna really dig it if you get into the lore and you get into some of the creature work in it, like some of the best sort of imaginations, I would say, from anyone that I've seen. I up there with Star Wars, in my opinion.
Oh wow,
from a
that's
standpoint
high praise.
of right. And my voice cracked when I said it because I was nervous that George Lucas was gonna come and take me or use some special effects to take me out. But no, it was honestly, the storytelling is so good, which makes me so happy that this is a studio and they're gonna start with a movie, but they're gonna follow it up with more series. I just can't wait to see where they take it.
I'm surprised that they're going to start with an animated. I feel like, I guess because the live action is going to be hitting Netflix, that whatever they're doing with that, and if the creators left, I think a lot of fans, to your point, are not going to want to really stick around to see what that's really all about. They'll check it out, but then they'll see the faults in it because what it could have been if the creators were sticking around to actually invest the time to put it together.
But I wonder if that project is even, I mean, I know they kind of have already started on it. There's already some sets that have been built and stuff like that. But I wonder if that's going to fall through, or if maybe it might get adopted and then sort of shelved even longer and then, put into this Avatar studio. Because, if you have these creators that they're like, you know what, creative differences, Netflix, sorry, peace out, we're leaving. And then they do this. So the fact that this is going through Paramount Plus is sort of a slap in the face to Netflix, because I'm sure that whatever happened was not the greatest.
Well, yeah, Avatar aired, I think, for the first time on Nickelodeon, did it not?
Yes.
Was it Nickelodeon cartoon? Paramount owns Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is creating a whole bunch of original content for their Paramount Plus, and it only makes sense. I'm wondering if part of the reason why they left because of creative differences was because they were offered a better deal, right? They were offered a better deal, and the only reason they were able to just say, okay, well, we're not going to attach our name to this because we're going to go over here to Paramount Plus, and they're going to give us everything we want. So we'll just remove ourselves from the equation, just walk away from it, right? So
and who knows if it's a financial thing or if it's like a creative control or a vision sort of idea, right, for them, because they do go on to say we're excited to be back at Nickelodeon where Avatar began. So obviously they know what kind of relationship to expect, and so maybe Netflix just wasn't allowing them to do and they just pulled an Edgar Wright and walked off. Definitely exciting times ahead for Avatar fans. But while one series is getting brought back to life in a way, another series of the cinematic kind is getting another reboot. Chris Evangelista from Slash Film says that a new Superman reboot is headed to the screen, courtesy of acclaimed writer Ta-Nehisi Coates and producer J.J. Abrams. Coates, author of Between the World and Me and We Were 8 Years in Power, An American Tragedy, also a writer for the New York Times Magazine and the Washington Post, and the writer on acclaimed comic runs of Black Panther and Captain America, said he looks forward to meaningfully adding to the legacy of America's most iconic mythic hero. J.J. Abrams said of the project, there's a new and powerful, moving Superman story yet to be told. We couldn't be more thrilled to be working with the brilliant Mr. Coates to help bring that story to the big screen, and we're beyond thankful for the team at Warner Brothers for the opportunity. The question we have to ask now is, will this be a complete reboot of Superman featuring a brand new actor? Deadline reports that current Superman Henry Cavill is eager to play the role again, but apparently the search for an actor to play Kal-El Superman hasn't started yet, which might imply Cavill is out. One more additional note comes from The Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt, who sheds light on the matter of casting, suggesting that audiences may be introduced to a black Superman. That is the intent, and something that the studio has been trying to find a way in for months, if not a year or two. In the past, it was reported that a Superman movie starring Michael B. Jordan was being considered, and that's certainly a pretty cool choice. So, J-Law, I think of the three of us, you're certainly the most forgiving of DC's somewhat failed attempts at universe building. But so, you'll be the most enthusiastic about, yet another reboot in the DC verse. So what are your thoughts on the idea of another iteration of the Superman character? And how would you feel about them casting Michael B. Jordan? Would you have another suggestion? Like, what are your thoughts overall on what we're hearing so far?
I'm for it, man. I think, you have Mr. Coates on this project, who has a very rich history as a writer, and a part of the Black Lives Matter movement, has written in support of it, and J.J. Abrams behind it, who's always out to kind of push new ideas. I think it's already here. This is a story about a black Superman. I just feel like they don't want to necessarily say that, because I feel like they need to go through the process of ensuring that they can get the right actor. They want to tell the right story. Who knows where they are really in the process of story? It could just be an outline, and there hasn't really been this sort of full-fledged script that's been presented. So that I feel like will dictate which way the studio wants to go. And the fact that the studio is so supportive of the idea of having a black Superman represented, I think this is our first sort of hint at that, and I would be really excited to see someone like Michael B. Jordan don the Superman cape and tell a different story. It would kind of be, because I don't know if they did it in the comics. I that part I don't know, but I'm sure you guys are aware of Red Sun, which was the alternate depiction, like a what if story for Superman if he landed in Russia, not in the United States, and what that would look like.
That's my favorite graphic novel ever. I love that.
Yeah, dude, it's literally one of the best, just because of how alternative it is from the actual source material of Superman and his history. So I feel like this could be that. And especially if you get a good A-list actor, black actor, to represent Superman and be the new Kal-El, you'll have it. It'll hit it out of the park. This will destroy it. So,
yeah, I mean, like, I think, I love Miles Morales, and I think at this point more than ever, I think Superman is due for to have someone a different perspective for Superman.
And it's certainly a good way to get a new story out of, you take the same sort of premise and you can give it a fresh new face, but like just a new perspective to tell, this character's sort of journey. And so I think it's, I'm all for it. And at least it's not just another reboot where it's different people doing the exact same thing,
Well, there's a lot of symbolism too, right? Because, like, obviously, Superman being white, coming from another planet, not feeling like it's his home, that in many ways, and the struggle of trying to, be human, but not, and embrace his powers. It's kind of like there's a lot of work that's already there that can be implied and layered in with a black representation as well, right? Like, so I feel like there's levity to that story that can be added. So I'm interested. It's in many cases, if it's a reboot, I don't need to see like him with Batman and stuff like that. This could be like a Robert Pattinson kind of thing where it's like its own offshoot story of another iteration of Superman, rather than building some massive DCU where you have Black Wonder Woman and Black Batman, and you know what I mean. Like, it's just you could do something like that, but at the end of the day, it's like, then you're just really hooking in this idea of like racially changing your characters rather than focusing on one character and the significance of that one character, that sort of implication of that. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see either way.
Yeah, or even just sort of finding existing stories of perhaps black superheroes. And I know that's something that's underrepresented in the comic book world. But find those stories and maybe try and get those to resonate, right? Like I'm fine with this idea, but like you said, Justin, instead of just doing it for the sake of doing it, I'm sure, or maybe this encourages people to write these stories that haven't been told yet. Who knows?
Right. Exactly.
But that was sort of a theme on Sunday night for the Golden Globes as well. So I think this might be as good a time as any to jump into our topic of the show. Well, they certainly rolled out the red carpets this weekend, or at least the digital red carpets. This past Sunday, a sense of normalcy returned to Hollywood as the Golden Globes Awards show took place. Now, obviously, with COVID-19 restrictions still very much in place, it was interesting to see how the show was conducted. I thought it presented a pretty big challenge, and they did the best they could. I mean, it was almost like your grandmother who barely knows how to operate Zoom came up with some of the concepts they went with. But, before we get into like really specifics, we'll start from the top. They decided to beam in their hosts, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, from opposite coasts. Fey was at the Beverly Hilton. Poehler was at the Rainbow Room in Manhattan. And they went with a split screen presentation that would sort of tease what we were in store for the rest of the evening, which was an awkward, glitchy display that still managed to entertain, if not always for the intended reasons. But so again, why don't we just jump right in? What were some of your initial thoughts on the show in general, given the circumstances, just in terms of how they had to use, technology instead of having everyone in the same room and everything like that? What did we think?
Yeah, I think in terms of like a streaming award show, it was okay. There was that joke that they kept making, like, this could have been an email. And yeah, it probably could have just been an email, right? So, or it could have just been a pre-recorded event where all the people that knew that they were going to win were already given the awards in advance. And, it was just pre-recorded with top secret, whatever. I appreciated the fact that they tried to implement something that is very real, that so many of their viewers are dealing with in whether it be in work or social situations or life, and they had the actual technical glitches of like people maybe speaking on mute, or whoever's doing the run of show maybe not unmuting the person that won, or unmuting the wrong person. Like I'm sure like there was just, it was like, I don't even know how you would test trial this, right? Like you get everyone on, right? But what was really interesting too is like, as when they went to commercial break, how they would show like the screens and all the people were on it, and then they'd say, nominees for best actor are gearing up right after this commercial break. You see them like all trying to awkwardly talk to each other and like banter as they're in their green room, if you will, before after the commercial break when they're given the awards. So,
but they were cutting each other off. They were, they would stop mid-sentence and not even finish what they were saying. It was so clumsy. It was the worst part of the show, in my opinion.
Of course, yeah. And it's like recording this podcast through FaceTime. It's just mad lag and delay, right? So, So,
and I'm pretty sure when they cut away to the group of actors, at one point, I'm pretty sure Al Pacino was just asleep.
I have a note that Pacino was 100% asleep. Yeah.
I thought that the like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were obviously the best part of the Golden Globes. I thought I loved seeing the split screen gag. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was well done. Like a very.
I love
idea.
how they had the first responders and essential workers in the audience. I thought that was so cool.
I thought that was a really great idea. Yeah, good call on that.
Right. But at the same time, like, they called it out, right? They're just like, so you're here so all the celebrities can stay safe at home. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's a very true and harsh reality. But the way that in their monologue, the way they dissected the differences between TV and movies, I thought was so good. Like, talking about binging TV and saying how, like, I don't want to sit in front of my screen for 2 hours, but I do want to sit in front of my TV for 1 hour 5 times. Like,
yeah, it's so spot on. I won't watch The Irishman because it's too long, but I'll watch 5 straight episodes for all mankind. No problem.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And then, like, all throughout the night, I thought, calling out the Hollywood foreign press for their lack of racial diversity, the sort of straight, like the moment where they sort of all stood on the stage and addressed it was interesting. Like, I mean, again, it's good that they're addressing it, but there were so many moments that just sort of were like a little bit weird, and also just like there were so many snubs and some of the movies being in certain categories, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point. But
yeah, I think that this is kind of the touchy point, because obviously behind the scenes, and I didn't realize this, but news has been breaking that there's been discussions of with the Hollywood foreign press behind the scenes about how these awards people were nominated and so on. There's this whole thing, so it's really strange. But like I think within the first 2 awards that were won, we saw Daniel Kaluuya. He won for Best Supporting Actor, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, Best Director towards the end. We had the first Asian American, or full Asian, I think she is, right? And female win. So it's like, I get that there was probably in the, diversity of who was nominated and represented. But like when winners are selected, I feel like that to me is also just as important as just the nominees, right? Like, it's like, it's not a whole bunch of white people won, right? Or, the directors category had actual females in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Oscars only did that. I've only done that a handful of times. And even last year, there were more female directors and they were all snubbed. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I think the snubbing came in the nomination process.
Yes.
But not in the awards department. I think there was a lot of really great representation in the winners. It just, I think the issue is, the nomination pool itself was lacking, and I think that certainly it makes sense when you look at who's making the nominations, perhaps. And so sure. I think you have to start from the ground up to make that kind of change, I think. So
I just feel like it really comes down to what categories and how many people are nominated per category, right? Like, when you look at Oscars, it's like, what, directors are like 5, right? Like 5 directors are usually nominated for in the Oscars. Here you have maybe close to 10, because there's 2 categories, best drama and best comedy and musical, right? Like, there's, they split that.
You can look at some of the categories, like you said, Nate, and why is music, a very controversial movie that has gained a lot of ire from people. Why is a movie like that, being nominated is certainly a point of contention that can be made. But when you look at a lot of these, say, actor, actresses, director categories, who are you taking out? Who are you saying isn't deserving of the nomination they received? I mean, I think that you said it, Justin. There might be 10 terrific performances, and you can only pick 5. So, it's tough to sort of, how do you justify that, narrowing that down, and who do you take off these lists of all these deserved performances, in my opinion? Yeah,
and it was crazy to see, again, there were so many awkward moments throughout the entire thing, but the fact that, like, Sia was supposedly in the audience, and, Tina Fey, and listen, kudos to them. The ball's on them to call out the movie and talk and bring forth how the movie is so troubling, and so there's so many issues with it, and with them in the audience, like, it was just like,
well, now by audience, do you mean on their webcam?
Sure, yeah,
right,
sure.
Because the Globes have kind of gotten this reputation, especially after Ricky Gervais did it 5 times, and he held no punches, and he did it 10 feet away from people. in the same room. It's a lot easier. Look at internet and bullying culture. It's a lot easier to say something from behind your keyboard than it is, And I think some of the speeches were pretty well done in that regard as well. I think we'll get into some of those perhaps when we talk about actual awards and everything. But I thought there was a lot of really good commentary done throughout the evening. And so I would say that positively outweighed the negative aspects of certain things, especially the flawed technical issues, which I think were completely understandable and kind of made for a funny, awkward evening. It sort of gave it a different sort of personality than just any other Globe show. Now, I have a bunch of tiny little highlights, but I wanted to see if there were any specific lines of dialogue, anything that sort of stood out for you throughout the evening. I know we've mentioned a few, but
two things that I would say were huge standouts. First was 100% when they were interviewing those kids and they were answering wrong answers for everything. It was kids say the darndest thing. And it was just sometimes it was I remember watching it and just thinking they're kind of making these kids look stupid, right? They're making them. But then I was what's the punchline? What is the punchline? And then it gets to the end and they're asking him, who is Black Panther? And they're either saying Chadwick Boseman or who's Chadwick Boseman? He's Black Panther. To me, that that made it all worth it, right? It's the fact that all of those kids didn't know a single answer to any of his other questions, but they knew that. What a great way to pay respects to him, and just to see his legacy of what he's impacted in these kids' lives. It was fantastic. I thought that was a great little bit.
Yeah, that moment sort of goes hand in hand with Taylor Simone Ledward, Chadwick Boseman's wife, acceptance speech, and talking about how the key now is to keep that memory alive, and that the bit with the kids there just shows how much of an impact he made with that performance, and not just because he was a cool superhero, but because of what it meant to see somebody with that much power and just grace and poise and it's a wicked, when the man himself, it's just such a perfect embodiment. If that's what he's going to be remembered for, it's going to be so much more than a superhero. It's what that superhero represents. It's awesome. That was definitely, I think, the most important thing.
The only other thing that I would say was a real highlight was Tracy Morgan somehow messing up soul with Sal, or is Sal? I don't know if he was trying to be
I think he
funny.
said South or something. Or
well, he said,
maybe he thought he was reading South.
He said so. He posted on Twitter, because I went on Twitter right away and I was like, Tracy Morgan, you're a beautiful Sal. And I looked on his Twitter and it was I was thinking of Sal's Pizza that I was going to get on my way home. And I was oh, okay. I hope it was delicious.
Well, yeah. Sudeikis made a similar joke. that was the only leading into commercial with the 5 nominees that was sort of funny, because they were all just riffing on him for it. And, and Sudeikis said, Soul's Pizzeria, swapping.
Wow. And I mean, we have to, if we're going to talk about standout moments in terms of dialogue or speeches or lines, Sacha Baron Cohen's speech, when he just talks about Rudy Giuliani and the comedic hits that he went on to do, 4 Seasons Landscaping, Hair Dye Another Day, and the courtroom drama, A Very Public Fart. So phenomenal. And he delivers it so perfectly. He's so serious about it. And just when he's when he opens with just I want to thank the 50 white people or whatever at the Hollywood Foreign Press.
Yeah, no, his speech was scathing, and I was happy to see. I'll get into the fact that he won and what for in a bit here, but he won twice, and I was so disappointed when he didn't have a second, sort of little bit to run off. It was very straightforward, the second one, but no, that first one was definitely the best acceptance speech, I think. And then even Rosamund Pike sort of jumped onto the bandwagon too. She had a standout line in her in congratulating Maria Baklava for, you did the toughest. I scaled down a mountain, but you were alone in a room with Rudy Giuliani. No, thank you.
I think what was interesting too about some of the speeches is just the amount of activism and awareness that a lot of people still took to the forefront, because you realize, these actors feel like they're in the forefront. People know them and whatnot. So when they have that time, they Sean Penn it or Joaquin Phoenix it, and they talk about all that stuff. So, and Mark Ruffalo was no different. I was glad to see him win a Golden Globe, but he definitely took the opportunity to talk about what mattered to him. I think Jane Fonda did as well. But yeah, I think it was still like some of them were really, really good. Some of them were a little over the top. And I think to your point, as we were discussing with Sasha and Rosamund Pike, they did it more subtly and more tongue in cheek in a way to kind of comment on the current situation.
Yeah, they got their message across without almost coming off preachy.
Yes, exactly.
Right? I mean, and so you did mention Joaquin, who is very much using the microphone and the acceptance speech as a platform for a cause. So I loved when he came out and Amy Poehler, called, and here's a former musketeer and all-around silly Billy, and just his look at her was so like, oh, you did not.
So good. So good. Oh, they were great. Let's have them back next year.
Yeah, I know. I thought they did a great job given the circumstances. Now, we've already, at least from my perspective, mentioned in terms of the worst part of the evening, the technical glitches, but specifically just the commercial breaks and everything. Was there anything else that sort of gave you a cringe, Nate?
I mean, listen, Kevin, if you want to keep talking for under a minute and I'll just start playing the worst walk-off music that you can't even hear because you're on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Why every single time is it automatic? Like, do they not have a way to turn that off? Like, it just seemed like there were only a few speeches, thank goodness, based off of who was giving them, that they didn't do that. But there were some moments where I counted. It's like you get 30 seconds to say your thing. And listen, I get it. The show's already 4 hours long. I totally understand. You want to keep things brief and short. But you know what? Like, the whole point is to give these people their awards and give them their time to speak. That's the whole point of this. So as much as I love those digital, comedy shorts that they did, or even some of the funny things that they did with, Keenan and Maya Rudolph coming on the stage, like, you know what? Make that shorter. Make that even 30 seconds or a minute shorter if it means other people get a chance to speak more.
That was my cringe thing, was that whole bit with Maya Rudolph and thing. I love them. They're great. But I didn't like that bit. I thought it was unnecessary, and it was just, they're in New York, and, Saturday Night Live is shot down the street. Hey, why don't we get these guys come in for a night?
It was better than 90% of anything on a typical SNL episode, but it still wasn't good enough to justify being 5 minutes long. When, as you said, you're cutting off people who've worked for this moment, right? Maybe their
100%.
whole lives.
Yeah. And you get cut off.
Yeah, but speaking of walk-off music, the worst acceptance speech, unfortunately, because I understood where they were going with it, but it was a failed attempt at it because the guy didn't know what he was doing. But when Catherine O'Hara and her hubby's playing the laugh track really loud, and it didn't.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I figured I got it. He was supposed to be laughing when she was telling a joke, and then he was playing music to play her off, but it was just a botched attempt at a good idea, I think.
Like, I thought they were watching the stream on their phone, and so I thought, like, it was, like, delayed or something, and so they were hearing the reaction of the stream through their phone, and it was coming. I was like, turn off your phone. What are you doing?
That's what it sounded like.
A bit. Yeah, but it was a bit, and it didn't land, and But again, I was happy that she won. But
as a bit of a side note, I'm sure you're not. This isn't in your topic for Golden Globes, but let's just take a quick second here to chat about some of the fashion attire that was featured on some of these Zooms. So first, I love that Jodie Foster was in like some sort of like high elegant pajamas. Like just like her and her wife,
the
like
1,000 thread count pajamas for
they
sure.
Looked so comfy with their dogs and like really setting that home precedence. But then you got like someone like Anya Taylor-Joy, who goes like full ball gown, like her hair looked like she had a photo shoot happening. I wonder if the Globes like arranged that for her so that they could have some documentation and some Twitter stuff, like stuff
and
for
Justin,
social.
I'm wondering if Anya Taylor-Joy, if that's just what she looks like all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like those are her pajamas. Like,
that's how she goes to the grocery store.
It did look like a nightie. It did look like a nightie. I'll give you that. So, and then like Jason Sudeikis is like tie-dye like sweater. Like I loved how Tina Fey pointed it out. It's like,
Yeah.
what she
Go to
said, she's like,
NBC.com to purchase. Yeah.
Yeah,
I tried to buy it. I want it. It looks great.
No, yeah, I think they said do whatever you want. And I think a lot of them, put like Sorkin in his gorgeous museum-like living room, Of course, he's got like a fancy gramophone in the background,
But yeah, I thought the fashion was really interesting. But I think best outfit would have to go to Bill Murray for his Hawaiian shirt. Guy looked like he just got off like a cruise.
Oh, he was probably in Hawaii somewhere, just on, he was on a vacation. Like, I felt bad. Here he is living the life, sipping a margarita outside in a Hawaiian shirt. In the very same category, in a couple Zoom screens over, is Andy Samberg and his wife dressed up in a tux and a beautiful gown with a velvet curtain that they clearly like rented and had brought in. And I just thought
Right,
that's
and their movie. And their movie was Palm Springs.
Yeah.
They could have switched and it would have worked.
The irony.
But I also just got to call out Jeff Daniels and his plaid dad shirt surrounded by doors.
Yeah.
Well,
There were so many doors
He
around.
was in the 5th spare bedroom of his house, right? He picked the least nice room to be in. So, in terms of winners, I think we should start talking about winners and maybe some disappointments. Were there any big standout surprise winners that you guys noticed?
I was actually pleasantly surprised to get Jason Sudeikis with his win as Best Actor in a TV series, musical, or comedy. Just because, again, and say what you will about his hoodie or his ability to give a speech, I don't think he was actually really expecting.
No, he wasn't.
To win in that moment.
That was actually
right?
what's really nice about his speech. It felt very off the cuff because he didn't anticipate a win. He clearly didn't anticipate a win.
Yes. Now, was he merely surprised, or had he been dabbling in some greenery before
You think he was high as a
that
kite,
happened? I think he was higher than a kite. He was high as a hot air balloon. He was pretty.
Good for him.
He looked pretty ripped.
I mean, to get through the entire Golden Globes, I don't blame him.
Yeah, of course.
The other one that I was really happy to see was Soul, and I don't think it was necessarily a surprise given the other movies for Best Animated. But I was really, 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 really happy that they got Kemp Powers, on the screen, right? Like they actually brought up a video on an iPad of Kemp Powers. So I was just happy to see that, still happening, because I think that movie he put so much into that movie, and to make sure that
He put his soul into that movie.
he put his soul into that movie. But I think it was just really because he put so much into the movie to ensure that it resonated with Black audiences, and that it put that culture at the forefront, right? And especially from Pixar. So I was just really happy that even though Pete Docter was the one accepting the award, that they still got that iPad video in there.
Well, but I heard that there was a little bit of controversy surrounding that, just because he didn't hear that he was even a nominee until the day of, because I guess in the past, co-directors or co-producers, I'm not sure which directors?
Co-director.
Yeah, co-directors typically wouldn't get recognized. And so, that seems like a big oversight in that regard,
But I mean, again, leave it to a company like Pixar to be aware of that, and then to make sure that doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Very true. Very true.
He still gets his speech. So
my favorite part of Soul, the part I attached myself to the most, was the music aspect of it, and that really was such a strong part of that film. So I'm glad that got appreciated. It attached to my soul. Yes, geez.
Justin, I'm doing the Don Cheadle right now. I'm asking you to move on, okay?
One more surprise for me was Borat doing well there. I did not really. I mean, the musical comedy category is tough, just because.
What were the nominees again? Sorry,
they were Borat, subsequent movie film, Hamilton, which is an interesting choice in and of itself. There was music. No, thank you. Palm Springs and The Prom. So honestly, the only other one that kind of even deserved it was Palm Springs. And that's not saying Hamilton isn't great. I just don't think that filming a play counts as a movie.
I agree. It's not like it was Les Mis. Like at least with Les Mis, it was like actually like recreating the events and embedding the musical touch, right? But Hamilton was like filmed on a stage without an audience. Like it's like I don't like. Don't get me wrong. The play's great and the music's great and whatnot. I just don't know if it fits in this. It felt like a documentary more so than anything else. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but it's just a play on camera. It's like when you can see Shakespeare or opera at the local Cineplex. Like, that doesn't count as a movie. It's just if you saw a U2 concert live at this theater, would that count for best movie? I don't know. It's weird.
Why do they put the musical and comedy in the same? Like, is it to save time? Like, at this point, like, is that the only reason? Because, like, Palm Springs and Borat subsequent movie film don't really deserve to be musicals, and the other ones I don't really see as comedies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
But it's musical or comedy. It's musical or comedy, and I think it's to give films that don't necessarily carry the weight of something like a Nomadland or a Mank or The Father. You know, it gives other films a chance to be recognized as the best of its kind. But yeah, lumping comedies and musicals over off to the side, and then every other thing. You know, it's tough.
Now, Minari won though for best. Was it best foreign language?
Yes.
It won in the foreign picture category rather than in like a best picture or
which when you're nominated for foreign language film, you can't be in best picture. And after watching this movie, the movie takes place in Arkansas. It's filmed in Arkansas.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
The creator is American. The fact that I get it. It's a foreign language. They're speaking Korean for a bunch of the film, but the movie takes place and is made in Italy. It even says USA when they were announcing it. It doesn't make any sense that it's in this foreign language category. I don't know. That rubbed me the wrong way. It's a Golden Globes thing.
Oh, at the Globes you can't. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for...
Again, there you go, Hollywood Foreign Press. Yeah. Like, come on. Change these things.
I'm sure if Minari hadn't won, Nate, you would have been disappointed. But were there any disappointments in terms of... Were you rooting for anybody that didn't pull it off? I
was kind of rooting for Palm Springs. I thought that movie was great. I liked Borat. It was funny, but it wasn't like... I could see because of its political relevance and because it existed like so much in the now, it being recognized as being the better. But I think Palm Springs had a really, had a fun, endearing story while, also having, just a good laugh.
It was an original story versus just a sequel to a movie that didn't get this kind of recognition when it came out and was probably better, in my opinion, than this one.
Yeah, I would say that. I would agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, and I think another disappointment for me, it was a long shot anyways, so I can't say I'm surprised, but I was rooting for Ted Lasso to win for Best TV Series Comedy.
Yeah.
I mean... I thought Schitt Creek already sort of got its recognition at all the awards last year, And so I didn't think it would clean up the way it did again.
I also was just really disappointed that The Mandalorian didn't take home Best TV Drama. I'm just kidding. I'm just too much of a Star Wars fan to let that one slide by. I'm glad it was nominated. Yeah. We got a Star Wars thing nominated. I also, I love the music of Soul. I think Ludwig Göransson and his work on Tenet was just... I think that soundtrack is way better than the movie.
Yeah, agreed.
So I was also kind of rooting for him on that one. It was kind of, a bittersweet thing. I was really happy that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross and John Batiste won that. But no, I think for me, I was also really, really pulling for Jason Bateman for Best Actor in Drama Series. But I think, Justin, to your point, he has won a lot of Golden Globes for the series already. I know I think they cleaned up. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. So yeah, I'd say that's about it. Otherwise, I didn't know a lot of the things that I was rooting for at certain points.
That was tough. Yeah. Eh? You think you watch a lot, and then you realize you don't watch a tenth of what's out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like you mentioned Bateman and for The Crown to win so much, and I'm just disappointed because it's obviously a very good show that I just can't picture myself sitting down to watch. So I just know I'm missing something good, but it's like I don't care. I can't see myself getting invested in it.
Very well deserving Queen's Gambit.
I was thrilled for that one. Yes, I was
so happy to see that, and to see Anya Taylor-Joy win Best Actress as well. I think those were that. I literally fist pumped in the air for that because that show is just so well done.
Yeah, that was until Ted Lasso came around, my streaming show of the year, and so yeah, I was happy to see that as well. Well, I think the main purpose of the Globes is almost to get us primed for the Oscars. It's almost it's some sort of sort of gauge as to where nominations might come from, and I believe we should expect those as early as later this week, but probably by next week, as the show's going to be end of April. So, based on what we saw happen at the Globes, do you have any sort of expectations for things that are going to win at the Oscars as well as at the Globes? Or do you have any predictions for how it's going to be a bit different in the case of the winners?
Oh, in case of the winners, I feel like if anything, if it has the opportunity to be different, is how it's presented. I hope that the Oscars have at least watched what happened here with the Golden Globes and tried to figure out a better method of how they might be able to pull this off, so that either they can make it quicker and they can focus on what needs to just happen. I feel like hopefully they'll learn from that. If anything, though, this solidifies this whole award of the Golden Globes solidifies certain movies that I definitely need to check out, like No Man's Land, Minari, Mank. I feel like these might.
You don't need to check that one out. It's fine.
Really? You didn't like it?
That was down there for me. It was slow and boring and uninteresting. Okay. So I was glad that they didn't get any awards the other night, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's yeah, it didn't get any. But yeah, I just feel like, and Father, like I really want to check this one out with Anthony Hopkins and see what that's all about. It does kind of set a precedence for what the movies are, but I guess we'll wait and see what's nominated. That'll kind of really dictate and finalize what needs to be watched.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, like, speaking of doing it differently, maybe, you know what they do? They get a bunch of iPads on mannequins and just have all the celebrities still in the crowds, but through a Zoom call somehow. And I'm just kidding.
That would be so spooky.
But I think we're gonna see a lot of Sorkin. I think we're gonna see Soul. I think is gonna definitely win animated as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of, again, like what is mirrored in the event. But I also, like, just to quickly go off of some of the movies that I hope do get nominated, and I'm going to watch regardless, just based off those Golden Globes, like Judas and the Black Messiah. I definitely want to check out One Night in Miami.
Yes.
I already watched Minari. Nomadland, Father, the I can never pronounce it. Mauritanian, I believe it's called. And then Sound of Metal, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Because when they came up on the stage, I was like, you know what? I'll give these two a few minutes.
You would watch that for more than the 2 minutes they were on stage for? Oh, boy.
I've heard so many good things about this movie. Kevin, listen, give it a chance. Give it a chance.
Come on, if I didn't like 2 minutes, why am I going to like an hour and a half?
Yeah.
But I will say, we were talking earlier about how do you shorten the show to allow people time to speak. But I think, and I was going to suggest, do you really need to go through and give each of the nominees for Best Picture, that 2 minute clip of what the film's about and everything? And I think, not only does it give the movie the recognition it deserves, but it also does give people who maybe never even heard of that movie, like I hadn't really even heard of The Father, and now after watching the clip and seeing what it's about and who's in it and the performances look very, stellar, I was like, I'm going to check that out. And so it's almost beneficial that they do that sort of thing to sort of, again, it's all about exposing the best films in the world to as many eyes as possible. And so there were, you guys mentioned it, there were a lot that I saw that I hadn't thought about checking out that I think I certainly will, especially if they get nominated, just so I can, form an opinion on them myself. And so, to do a pool, doesn't necessarily work the same way, but I am looking forward to now checking out what I think is going to be worth it to get ready for our big Oscar pool round 2 that we'll do this year. But before that, I will make some predictions now for what I think we're going to see. Sorkin will win again for Best Screenplay. I think Sacha will win again, but for the for the other role that he was nominated for and snubbed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be an upset in the animated category.
Really?
Yeah, I think Wolf Walkers is going to walk away with that one.
No.
Yeah.
No, I watched it. It's not.
No?
No.
Okay, already proven me wrong. And then I think what didn't happen at the Globes will happen at the Oscars. I just don't know what category yet. But I think Promising Young Woman will win an award. I'm just going to say any award. That way I've got all my bases covered, okay? But remember, you heard it here first.
Well, hopefully we can be a little more specific on our actual predictions episode.
Yes.
As opposed to just, they'll win an award.
I think we certainly will be. All right, well, it looks like we are running long in time here, and we do not want to be as long as the Golden Globes themselves. I think Don Cheadle just popped up here and has given us the roly finger to close things off, gentlemen.
He's doing it again.
I think we'll end on a high note here. So that's another episode in the books for Geekcentric. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And be sure to leave us a rating. Just a reminder, 5 stars is the only way we're ever going to get a Golden Globe, so please help us out there. We are Geekcentric, and you can be too, which means you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. As we mentioned earlier in the program, our newest video has dropped, the latest edition of Kev at Home, so be sure to check that out. Had a lot of fun putting that one together. And you can also follow us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT and on Instagram at WeAreGeekcentric. And don't forget, you can always catch Nate's live gaming stream at twitch.tv/Nate Plays Games. Go say hi, hang out, watch him play some games. What's on the schedule coming up, Nate?
I mean, we've been just rocking that Super Mario 3D World multiplayer. We're getting friends in, guests. So if you don't, if you want to hear other people, but listen, a viewer from Indonesia who came onto my stream. It was super, super cool that I've got people from Indonesia, people from Ireland chiming in, talking to me, tuning in regularly. But I had a viewer from Indonesia who I was singing on stream, and he's like, "You should make that a channel rewards thing. You could call it Serenate." And so now I've got a Serenate Me channel reward. So if you watch my channel enough, you'll earn some Nate coins that you can spend on that. And yeah, I'll sing to you. I'll sing your name. I'll sing, whatever you want.
Well, and just as always, you are the man behind the scenes making all of this come together with your magical touch. So as always, thank you so much.
Thank you.
But boys, thank you so much for your award-worthy performances this evening. And folks, be sure to also tune in for our 8th edition of the Watch Club for WandaVision, covering the 9th and final episode. By the time you're listening to this, you'll have seen all the shocks and awes and surprises, and we really hope they live up to everyone's expectations. But until then, as we always say,
love ya.
Stay home safe, guys.
Peace.